Hey, Chochachos, it's Nekabun, and we are playing the ORPHEUS Ruse. Release the demo of it, because it's not going to demo itself. This is another text adventure. This one's by Paul Gresti. I'm pretty sure we got a couple Grestis in the past. But, yeah, like I said, in another one of these, Choice of Kung Fu, you people seem to dig these, so I'm going to keep doing them. Anyway, The ORPHEUS Ruse by Paul Gresti. Infiltrate the enemy as a psychic spy, leaping from body to body by touch. But when your own body is stolen, you'll race against time to find it before your mind disintegrates. See, that is how you sum up a concept in 2 sentences. It's pretty simple. I like it. The ORPHEUS Ruse is a thrilling interactive spy novel by Paul Gresti, where your choices control the story. It gives entirely text-based and the usual the unlimited power of your imagination spiel. I'm going to start skipping that. What secrets have your mentors been keeping from you? Can you trust your friends when you don't know whose face they're wearing? What will you sacrifice to hide your powers from the world? First 3 chapters for free? That's a pretty good deal, actually. Usually you only get 2. And it's cheaper than some of them. I usually see them for 4. This one's 3. The full version. And we'll be lucky if we get through 1 chapter, unless they're super short. But we'll get a feel for things, like we do. So let's play. The Interloper. Oh, quick aside here. I used to, my nickname was the Interloper when I used to hang out with my friends at their college, because I would just kind of show up and crash out in their common room. I brought video games and I did their dishes, so I kind of paid my way. But yeah, lots of leftover birthday cake. I didn't have the best job at the time, and then for a while I didn't have a job at the time. Long story. Anyway, Chapter 1, The Interloper. What do you see? You're standing in the departure lounge of Chicago's O'Hare Airport, your nose fairly pressed against one of the room's large plate glass windows. Beyond, the night's blackness is washed away by yellow floodlights. A Boeing 747 taxis into position beside a jetway. It's the first time you've seen an airplane up close. Really? I see airplanes, you say. I see lights. I see men in orange vests walking around. One of them is waving some lights up at a pilot in the plane. The man beside you smiles and scratches his jaw. His name is Zev Aranovich, and he is the only person you know who is special like you. He places his hands on your shoulders, and draws you back a couple of paces. Now, look again. Is it the same? You do, and at first it is. The same jumbo jet, same ground crew. And then you see a difference. You see yourself, reflected, in the lights of the departure lounge, throwing you into sharp contrast against the blackness of the night sky outside. I see myself, he tells Zev. I see you, too. That's good, he says. Zev is tall, sort of stretched looking. It's a slender man. He has a short curly hair and a short frizzly beard. Frizzly? Anyway. Again, now he smiles for that beard. I'm really leaving and never coming back, you ask him? The sudden change of subject seems to surprise him. I never said never, he answers. I'm sure you'll come back to America one day, though it won't be for a few years, that's true. Perhaps hoping to distract you from the sudden melancholy shift in your mood, he says, let's practice using your gift again. It's a European practice, guys, probably English, or at least not American. Or it's a typo, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the S is the Queen's English version of it. Anyway, here? Why not? It'll be your last chance before we get before arriving at the node. It can be a test of discretion as well as your metempsyonic ability. Inhabit one of the people in this room. Choose anybody you like, but above all, avoid drawing attention to yourself. Airport security staff intensely dislike any sort of unexpected situation that disrupts their routine. You give Zev a dubious look. You would hear metempsyonics. You would have to pick a complicated word for this, wouldn't you? You each have the idea to temporarily transfer your consciousness into the body of another person. You cast your eyes around the room, trying to decide which person will help you to perfect your gift. The departure lounge is crowded with excited American holidaymakers, European tourists returning home, tired businessmen eager to return to their families, teenagers with weighty backpacks. After a few moments, you settle on 3 people that you might inhabit. A man in a suit reading an Italian newspaper, a woman traveling with her 2 energetic young sons, one of the airport staff, a woman standing behind a desk in front of the boarding gate. I think it'd be hilarious if the man in the suit, the entire newspaper section was just written in Italian, and if you don't know Italian, that'd be great. But we'll go with the attendant. You and Zev approach the woman standing at the desk. She's typing information into a computer, but she looks up at you and smiles as you near her. Hello. Can I help you with something? Yes, you say. Could you please tell me what that sign means? You point toward a sign at the other end of the room. Her gaze follows your finger. As it does, you reach across the desk and touch the back of her hand. Transferring your mind to another's body demands a physical contact. The movement of your consciousness takes only a moment. As your thoughts and being stream through the point where your hand touches the airline attendant, your vision fades to brown and then black. And yet, in that same second, you jerk into wakefulness. The departure lounge around you remains unchanged, yet you have a clear perception of the ambience within the room, the moods of those waiting for their flight. As if you have stood in 100 such rooms, you realize. You look down at your hands. Your fingernails have grown long, filed smooth, varnished. Your own body is still here, unconscious, or rather, lacking consciousness. As your mind poured into the airline attendant's body, Zev was quick enough to catch you under your armpits before you fell down. Now he hoists you up on his shoulder. To all appearances, your body is simply that of a youngster sleeping in the arms of his father, or of a family friend. So you're a kid? Okay. Zev gently sets down your body, your home body, on a chair in front of the airline attendant's desk. Then he turns back to you. Nicely done. Can you tell me the name of your host's body? You think for a few moments. Yeah, I know that. It's, Melanie Craven. The knowledge comes to you instinctively. She's not married, but she's in love with somebody. Yet, no. I see his face, sort of, but I can't think of his name. That's okay, says Zev. You're doing well. What about the rest of Melanie's family? Again, you think, but ultimately just shake your head. I don't know. Sorry. Don't worry, it's normal. What about this computer? Do you know how to use it? You look down at the fat plastic buttons. Kind of, you answer. I could access the passenger list or maybe get a timetable of flights, but it's not completely clear to me. Once more, you look out through the lounge's tall windows, out into the night. And down at the runway below. A tingle like a faint jolt of electricity seems to pass across your forearms. For a few moments, little white and blue dots haunt the edges of your vision. Starting to get the prickles again, you tell Zev. This tends to happen anytime you inhabit a host body for more than a minute or two. Already? Zev seems surprised. That's probably because you're tired. Switch back into your own body. It's almost time for us to board anyway. You round the attendant's desk and look down at your home body. You think back to the questions Zev asked a few minutes ago. What do you see? Looking down at your home body, sprawled unconscious on one of the lounge's seats, your head tilted back, your mouth slightly open, you see nothing more or less than an 8-year-old child who will spend the next few years living in the most unusual circumstances. Okay, so you are a kid. And with that, a stray thought passes into your mind. A strange presentiment that, yet, of course I know what's come. This all happened once before, years and years ago. What? So maybe this isn't my home body? Anyway. You push away the curious idea. A light strip flickers overhead, and you glance up at it, and then back down at your comatose form. How would you describe the child who lies before you? And this is what you do to pick what you look like. So we got a thin, runty boy, fair skin, brown hair, blue eyes. Alright. Dark-skinned girl, tall and thin, hair in braids. Pale, overweight young boy. Tall girl, Scandinavian look. Japanese-American girl. Dark-skinned boy, can pass for 13. So, and sounds athletic. Scottish or Irish descent. Little girl with thick red, somewhat unkempt hair. Olive skin, prominent nose and ears. Blonde boy with fair skin, looking angelic and probably innocent. So all these probably have advantages in certain interactions. Or unusually tall, gangly girl with the undeniable air of awkwardness. I'm going to go with the ginger. I'm keeping my normal voice for me, though, because deal with it. You reach forward and place a finger against the wrist of your own body. In a moment, your consciousness pours through the physical connection into your home body. Compared with the sensation of inhabiting other hosts, it is a feeling of being welcomed and utterly familiar with yourself. Your eyes are still closed. You open them. Your previous host stands before you, looking a little bewildered. That's nothing for you to be concerned about, says Zev, sitting beside you. When you only briefly inhabit somebody like this, when their immediate environment doesn't change the whole time you're within them, that mini blackout the host experiences feels like nothing more than their mind wandering off for a minute or two. You know that feeling of, what did I just come here for? Zev grins, then says, come on, it's nearly time for us to board. You'll need this. He hands you an American passport. You check your photo and the information beside it. It says here that my name is Amy Aronovich. I'm supposed to be your daughter? Adopted, says Zev. I have the documentation to prove it, too. It's all fake, of course. But it's a good fake. Good enough to get us on that plane, at any rate. You reread the information on the passport. Amy, you say out loud, tasting the name. No, you don't care for it. What's your real name? I like Kate. Although I just saw that you can actually use Amy as an option. A man now stands at the ticket desk, checking tickets and passports. Zev goes ahead of you and waits for you at the entrance to the jumbo jet. You show the airline attendant your ticket and passport. You manage a weak smile as he gives you a cursory glance. I don't know why I'm choking on that one. Then he gives you a brief nod. You walk on and join Zev. We should get on the plane, Zev tells you, taking your shoulder, leading you forward. And yet, some impulse causes you to look over your shoulder, back into the departure lounge. Again, the strip lights in the ceiling flicker, and then abruptly, half of them go out. Nobody in the room seems to notice. But then you see another figure, a man, at the far end of the room, a head taller than anybody else. That's probably bad. When this man stands in the light, it's as if a shadow lies across his face. You can't clearly make out any of his features. But this didn't happen before, you think. The thought seeming to come from far away. Things are happening differently this time. Zev, do you see that? You ask. That man is. Zev pulls hard on your shoulder. The pain shocks you. We have to go, he says. Now. The urgency on his face scares you. Zev pulls you along the walkway to the plane. The pair of you reach the plane's door, where a smiling stewardess stands inside, greeting each passenger that passes her. Good rhyme. Zev pushes you ahead of him, and you step through the doorway. Zev's dead. And then the scene changes. Perhaps memories follow the same skewed logic as dreams. Suddenly you're standing on a small island in the middle of a stormy gray sea. Oh, is this like a flashback? That could be why some of this is weird. Huh. The place is a large rock in the water, essentially. A dozen sheep graze on a few patches of spiky grass that dot the island. A farmhouse, a barn, and a handful of small buildings stand in the center. This island also houses the Node, the underground ex-military base that you call home. Some 50 meters from you, down at the edge of the water, there's a commotion. You spot Robert Riker and several of the psychics that live here at the Node. Two Russian women that run the farm, Mrs. Dotsik and Mrs. Yerofeev, are there too. They are hastily launching a boat into the choppy water, and then the memory of this day floods into your thoughts. A transport helicopter was struck by lightning and crashed into the sea a kilometer or so from the island. The people on the boat are going to look for survivors. You were 12 years old on this day. Some 4 years had passed since Zev brought you to the Node. So Zev survived. Okay. You set out to join... See, I thought the guy in the lights and everything was going to grab Zev or something. You set out to join the others on the rocky beach, but then you feel a hand on your shoulder, halting you. Zev is here with you. He looks exactly as he did in your memory of that day at Chicago O'Hare, even down to the clothes he's wearing. We have to go help those people, you tell him. But Zev shakes his head, scratches his jaw once more, and points in a different direction. At the foot of a shallow cliff, you spot two figures in the sea, a man and a girl, perilously near jagged rocks. The shape of the coastline has hidden them from the view of the group launching the boat. Yes, I remember now, you think to yourself. When this really happened, I was standing here by myself. Zev was down with the others. He was one of the ones who set out on the boat. Zev, I don't understand what's happening here, you say. Is all this a memory, a dream? No, he answers. This is all a mental construct, a sort of mind fortress of your own creation. All of this, he gestures at the sky, the sea, the rock, is in your head. So are those people down on the beach. So am I. But you are not alone in here, Kate. An interloper is in here with you. He is trying to psychically burn through your memories. He's trying to destroy your mind. Oh, that's the guy. Zev sees your look of outright horror and says, that isn't important right now. This day is important. On this day, when this really happened, what did you do? And most importantly, if you want to save this section of your mind, can you do it again? You look again at the two figures, the man and the girl. They're both wearing life jackets, lying on their backs in the water. Both appear to be unconscious. They are quite far apart. If you manage to scramble down the cliff that separates you without falling and killing yourself, you could probably pull just one of them out of the water before the storm smashed them against the rocks. Who are they? You ask Zev. The question doesn't seem that at all out of place in this memory construct. Which one should I save? The man is William Doon, a medium psionic like you and I. He's a powerful psychic and would make a great ally for the Riker Foundation. The girl is Annika Visser. She is the same age as you. Her particular psychic gift is precognitive combat sense, though at this young age she's not yet a strong fighter. But it would be the right choice to save the young girl, wouldn't it, you say? What is right? Counters Zev. Robert Riker would tell you that William Doon is the right person to save. In the long term, he could do a great deal to further the Riker Foundation's mission of protecting psychics from exploitation. If you possess the same level of idealism as Riker, that's something to think about. You take a step toward the cliff, but then Zev grips your shoulder once more. Remember, a Metam Psionic who shows kindness, really, who shows empathy toward the people around him, opens himself up, allowing a closer rapport with his hosts. Yet this is also a weakness. Show kindness to others, and you leave yourself vulnerable to psychic attack. Distance yourself from others, show them disregard rather than empathy, and you strengthen your mind against assault. Call it a philosophical choice. He pauses, then says, You know, the safest thing to do might be to run and get the others to help you. You look again at the group launching the boat. You're not sure you have enough time to fetch some of them to help you. I'm pulling the girl. I want combat friends. You scream for help as you sprint towards the cliff, but you don't even pause to check whether the group down by the beach have heard you. Then you half climb, half slip down the cliff, grazing your hands and cutting your knees when you land hard on the rocks at the water's edge. Undeterred, you reach out and manage to snag the girl's foot. You drag her up into your arms before a strong wave would have carried her into a rocky protrusion. The girl's eyes flutter open, weakly. The cold water has turned her lips a pale shade of purple-blue. They move as she tries to say something to you, but she fails, her eyes close once more. Further up the beach, that same strong wave lifts William Doon and smashes him down into a cluster of stones. He lies there, face down, a pool of blood forming around his head. Whoa. Robert Riker and the psychics further along the beach have heard your shouts. They appear at the head of the cliff and descend, helping you with the person you saved from the rocks and the person you didn't. And then, standing at the top of the cliff, you spot that same figure that you saw at the airport. That man whose face is indistinct, always obscured by a shadow with no source. He ignores the activity around you, staring down at you. It seems you will crumble under the weight of his gaze. But then, mercifully, the stony beach opens up beneath you. You fall down through the earth, down to safety, and the only home you've ever known. You stand in one of the windowless, half-pipe tunnels of the node, your home. Somewhere far above you, you hear a banging and a roar that might be the wind. Although, if that's true, the wind must be fierce indeed. Never before have you heard the noise of a gale so far underground. Whatever it is, you decide that it's nothing that you need to worry about for now. I don't know about that. And again, that distant, bothersome thought comes to you. This is memory. This is illusion. You are no longer 9 years old, but an adult. Something unwholesome is threatening you, forcing you to take refuge in the past. You wander along the corridor, passing the glass-fronted infirmary. The interior of the infirmary is dark. You see only your reflection, backlit by the red nighttime lighting of the node. Seeing yourself, you realize that another leap has taken place within your memory. You are 18 years old, almost ready for your first external assignment as an operative of the Riker Foundation. Have you changed the years that have passed since childhood? Not really. No, let's say yes. Oh, and her description. I'm cool. You continue. You continue further up the tunnel, and you find a spot to wait in near complete darkness. I don't know if that actually comes into the story, but at least it seems like more of a reassurance. Like if you've decided you've changed your appearance, it kind of lets you cement that in your own mind, which is cool. I like how they added that. You continue further up the tunnel, and you find a spot to wait in near complete darkness. You shouldn't be out of bed at night, but it's already well after midnight. But you promised Annika you'd meet her up here. She had something important to show you, she said. Ah, but the details come to you now. 6 years have passed since that day when you pulled Annika from the waters around the node, and since you allowed William Doon to be washed against the jagged rocks. Thanks for reminding me. Doon didn't die that day, although he was confined to the node's infirmary for several months thereafter. He suffered permanent injury to his hips and legs. The last time you saw him, many years ago, he had to walk with a cane. Well, that's good. Although he probably thinks I'm a dick. You start to think that Annika isn't coming. Maybe one of the node's instructors came across her and sent her back to bed. Or maybe she never had any intention of meeting you. Wouldn't be unlike her to play a joke on you like that. You've just about decided to go back to bed when you feel something sharp press against the small of your back. A voice behind you hisses, "Your money or your life, pilgrim." You spin around. It's Annika, a big smile on her face. "Scared you, didn't I?" she says. You didn't scare me at all, you tell her. And don't say pilgrim at the same time as your money or your life. One is typical of a cowboy, the other a highwayman. Together they just sound cretinous. Nobody likes a literalist. Annika shrugs, indifferent. So you want to see something special? She asks. You really do have something to show me? I really do. She leads you to Robert Riker's office. There's no light from inside the room. It's in there, she says. Riker doesn't keep his office locked, you ask? Oh, of course he does. I have a duplicate key. How on earth did you get that? But Annika doesn't answer you. Instead, she opens the door and slips inside. You follow her, closing it behind you. For a few moments, you stand in darkness. Then Annika switches on a desk lamp. At once, you see what she found so special. Riker's desk is covered in toys and gadgets. Binoculars, a baseball mitt, a computer, comic books, and so forth. Riker's been shopping on the mainland, says Annika. These are the young ones' Christmas presents. You smile, lifting a plastic sword from the table. Father Christmas came during the night, you say, echoing Riker's words to you that first Christmas you spent at the Node. For a non-Christian, he really did like to go all out on Christmas. He still does, says Annika. I was 12 when I had my first Christmas here. He gave me a gi for my judo classes. Nice, you say. It was a good choice for you. What did he give you, your first Christmas here? Alright, air rifle, a magic kit, big bulky cell phone, computer. Riker knew that sort of thing fascinated me. You were still examining the gifts when the door to the office opens and the light flicks on. Robert Riker is standing in the doorway, holding a mug of hot chocolate. He seems surprised, and not a little annoyed, to find you in his office. Well, I suppose you're old enough to know the truth about Father Christmas, at least, he says. Tell me, how exactly did you get in here? Annika holds up her key. He takes it. We'll discuss this another time, Miss Visser. For now, please go to the gymnasium. I believe Mr. Aronovich has a task for you down there. Now? In the middle of the night? Riker nods. Annika heads for the door. You start to leave with her, but Riker says, Not you, Kate. As you're already here, I'd like to have a brief talk with you. I'll send you down to join Miss Visser shortly. Don't worry. Annika gives you a curious look, and then leaves. Riker sits behind his own desk. You remain standing. Then Riker says, The purpose of this facility is to create an army of psychic operatives, ready to work and fight to protect the interests of every single psychic around the world. Soon you'll be joining that army. How do you feel about that? Truthfully, I'm a little afraid. Riker takes a sip of hot chocolate, nods at you in response. Then he asks, What is the Riker Foundation's greatest asset? Psychic abilities, dedication, young psychics, stealth, discretion. Riker smiles. Good, yes, discretion is our greatest asset, invisibility our greatest strength. Why else would we choose to live in a claustrophobic, antiquated bunker? One day, the public will learn of the existence of psychics, and then, human nature being what it is, conflict will follow, a conflict that, as it currently stands, we would lose. Perhaps our most important mission is to hold off that day for as long as possible. Why, you ask? To allow our numbers to increase, to allow psychics to excel at every strata of society. I envisage a time when people turn on their television, they will watch Hollywood actors, who are psychic, NBA basketball players, who are psychic. I foresee a time when society will contain psychic doctors, psychic entrepreneurs, psychic journalists, psychic ethics experts. When the public learns of the existence of psychics, I want them to realize that the psychics include their neighbors, their friends, and even their family members. And so, act discreetly, for now. Move silently. Never draw attention to who you are or what you can do. And then suddenly, Riker asks, Is the Riker Foundation the only dedicated network of psychics? You honestly have no idea. I don't know, but I find the idea unlikely. Riker gives a rueful frown and says, I can think of at least 4 others, although 2 of those have ceased to exist in any meaningful form. The Riker Foundation is certainly the biggest such network. It is the best resources. Our main competitor, I suppose, is called ORPHEUS. Hey, we got a title, kinda. The organized resistance for perpetuating human existence under sanctions. Their philosophy is rather different from our own. Is this the Magneto to our Xavier? Or are we the Magneto? They consider themselves freedom fighters of a sort. Them against the whole non-psychic world. Yep, they're the Magneto. Whereas we strive to fully participate in non-psychic human society, Orpheus seeks to control society, either manipulating psychics by placing their own people in positions of power, or by placing people, whatever, you get the idea. That said, their methods are similar to our own. They work with small groups of operatives in the field. Perhaps you'll encounter them from time to time. Well, gee, they're in the title of the game. I think it's going to happen. Riker pauses, takes another sip of hot chocolate, and then says, A theoretical question now. A television journalist is absolute proof of the existence of psychics. He plans to present this information on international news stations. You beg him not to, but he laughs.
The only way you'll stop me is by spreading this story, is by putting a bullet in my head, he says.
My question is, would you kill the man to stop him spreading this information? Or would you put a bullet in his head? Please be truthful. So we got gotta, only if there's no alternative. There's always another option. Your compassion for others is a strength, says Riker, but sometimes you'll have to step outside the boundaries of comfortable behavior. Then Riker says, another hypothetical. There are many indications that psychic gifts can be transmitted through heredity. The presence of psychic abilities can, at least, if not the exact nature of those abilities. Imagine if I ordered you to conceive a baby with a psychic partner of my choosing, that you might produce powerfully psychic offspring. Would you agree to do so? Tactical advantage. Depends on who you choose. Doubt I'd comply. Go to hell. Depends on who you choose. Riker smiles. Naturally. Just so you know, I've never made this, in my life, made this kind of breeding demand of somebody working with me. Now, one or two more questions. Where's this island that houses the node, he asks. I don't know, you answer. Very few do, I understand. Very, very few, Riker confirms, emphasizing the words. But you have suspicions, no? Maybe in Russian territorial waters. Maybe somewhere off Scandinavia. Certainly somewhere high up in the northern hemisphere. Riker smiles then. Smiles and says, Internal regulations, then. What is Protocol 81? Emergency evacuation, you reply. Probably the most useful in case of a fire at Riker Foundation facility. Protocol 12? Absolute radio silence. Protocol 157. That stops you. You have no idea what Protocol 157 might be. I have absolutely no idea. I appreciate your honesty. Protocol 157 is initiated when there's good reason to believe that an operative can no longer be trusted. All avenues of communication are severed, pending recall and interrogation of that operative. They're going to 157 somebody. It's going to be Dune or Annika, and yeah. Or it might be me, depending on how this goes. Riker takes a long look at you, and then says, Fine, we're done here. Unless you have questions for me, go meet Zev and Annika in the gym. Where's William Dune now? Riker goes quiet. William Dune does not agree with the principles of the Riker Foundation. He left us some time ago. Personally, I feel his departure improved the place. Let me guess. He's with Orpheus now. Or he's the guy poking through my head. You leave Riker's office and make your way to the gymnasium. So, yeah. They planted some seeds there, as you can tell from my ramblings. This one I might actually jump in on. It's only $3, and it's on Steam. I will throw the link in the info section, like I do. But I like this one. Flows pretty quickly. Really good at establishing things in a brief fashion. Like I said right at the top, they premise 2 sentences, done. Gressy's good at this. I should look into more of the stuff he does. But yeah, go check this out if text games is your thingies. And if I do the full version, I will do a full playthrough of it. It's going to be a lot of reading, but maybe we can do it as a podcast. I don't know. It's something I'm thinking about. There's also the idea of drawing along to them. I think I mentioned it. It was either in this one or... I either mentioned it at the top of the show or I mentioned it in another one of these text adventures, but I do kind of want to do a draw along. We'll see. Got a lot of thinking going on. We could do both. I could do the podcast and then just put the video version with the drawings. We'll see. But thanks for stopping by. Here's the outro slate, and I'll see you around. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, let me know in the comments, and consider subscribing so you get videos like this on the regular. I put up a lot of stuff every day. If you help me out on Patreon using the link in the upper corner, you can help me put out even more. You can also check me out on Twitter with the username on the lower right, or swing by my website, negabun.com, for all sorts of content, written, video, and otherwise, that I do regarding gaming.